Hello everyone, welcome to my educational YouTube channel uh, named Chaitanya Foundations. Uh, the purpose of this channel is to educate people. Though I myself is a student of economics, I am currently teaching economics. So I have made a video previously on the topic Introduction to Economics. So now in this video, I am sharing definitions of economics. So I will be talking in I will be teaching in Hindi and English. बीच बीच में मैं हिंदी और इंग्लिश दोनों में स्विच करूँगा ताकि जो लर्नर्स हिंदी और जो लर्नर्स इंग्लिश मीडियम से पढ़ना चाहते हैं वो भी दोनों इसका लाभ ले सकें. So let's begin definitions of economics. So किसी भी सब्जेक्ट को पढ़ने के लिए सबसे ज़्यादा ज़रूरी है that we should understand that what it is all about. ये किस चीज़ से रिलेटेबल है. जैसे कि आप जैसे पहली बार जब इकोनॉमिक्स पढ़ना शुरू करते हैं तो आपको पहले ये जानना होगा कि ये किस बारे में है. क्योंकि देखिए इकोनॉमिक्स एक बहुत ही नया सब्जेक्ट है. इकोनॉमिक्स इज अ न्यू सब्जेक्ट बिकॉज इट वाज इंट्रोड्यूस्ड राइट इन 18th century, right. It came into a major discipline after Adam Smith, the father of economics. He introduced a subject and brought it in academics. So this must be understood here that it's a noble subject, it's a new subject. It was introduced recently, three centuries ago. So let's begin. What economics is all about. So as we proceed in this slide, in this topic, further we'll understand what it is all about. And I will be explaining it in very deeply so that you can understand it better. Because unless you understand the major why this subject is introduced, why we are using it, why we are studying it, uh, understanding it deeply would become much more difficult. So let's proceed. So as you can see on the slide, it's given economics is the study of choices or choice making. Obviously, when we are studying economics, it is very important to understand that what it is all about. So the first topic, the first point you can see here, it is the study of choices. You know what? Later you will. This is the just a brief definition of economics, which says that it's a study of choices or choice making. So when we see into it, what is choice making, by the way? Obviously, when you are making a choice, जब आप किसी चीज को चुनते हैं तो कैसे चुनते हैं, किसे चुनेंगे आप? ऑब्वियसली उसे चुनेंगे जिसे आप पसंद करते हैं, जो आपको अच्छा लगता है. पर अगर आप इसके और गहराई में जाएं और तल तक अगर आप जाएंगे तो आपको पता चलेगा कि आपको अगर कोई चीज़ अच्छा लगता है तो हो ना हो वो आपको सेटिस्फाई करता है किसी तरह से, आप संतुष्ट हैं उससे. जैसे कि आप बाजार जाते हैं और आप एक टीवी खरीदना चाहते हैं और आपके मन में पहले से एक ऐसा ढांचा बना हुआ है जो कि आपको इसी तरह का टीवी पसंद आएगा. अब देखे होंगे जब आप बाजार जाते हैं तो कुछ कुछ सेल्समैन या कुछ कुछ ऐसे दुकान होते हैं, कुछ ऐसे शॉप्स होते हैं जहाँ पे आपको आपके पसंद का सामान मिलता है. अब इसका ये मतलब नहीं है कि बाकी दुकानें जहाँ आप नहीं जाते हैं वहाँ आपके पसंद का सामान ना हो. बस फर्क यही है कि आपका और उस दुकानदार का, दोनों का पसंद जो है वो बहुत हद तक मिलता-जुलता है. इसलिए जो चीज़ों को पसंद वो दुकानदार करता है, आपको भी उसके द्वारा किया गया चुनाव बहुत हद तक पसंद आता है. सो इन द सेकंड पॉइंट यू कैन सी, दूसरे पॉइंट में आप देख सकते हैं कि चॉइस मेकिंग इज रेलेवेंट फॉर एवरी इंडिविजुअल्स, फैमिलीज, सोसाइटीज, institutions, areas, stats, and nations, and for the whole world. And the third point you are seeing is, as economics has wide applications and relevance to all individuals and institutions. So these things are quite evident, right? You must be seeing it in day to day life. रोजमर्रा के जीवन में आप जो है इकोनॉमिक्स का ये रोल देखेंगे. अब हम इकोनॉमिक्स का एक डेफिनेशन और देखने जा रहे हैं आगे. व्हाट इज द मीनिंग ऑफ द वर्ड इकोनॉमिक्स? सी इकोनॉमिक्स इज, इफ यू, इन हिंदी वी कॉल इट अर्थशास्त्र. हिंदी में इसे हम अर्थशास्त्र कहते हैं. हिंदी में इसे अर्थशास्त्र कहते हैं. देखो अभी आपको व्हेन विल स्टडी एडम स्मिथ्स वेल्थ डेफिनेशन ऑफ इकोनॉमिक्स, इट विल बी क्वाइट रिलेवेंट नेम वाइज आल्सो. अर्थ मींस वेल्थ. ओके, अर्थ का मतलब भी होता है कि वेल्थ, एंड शास्त्र मींस स्टडी. स्टडी, व्हेन यू आर स्टडिंग इट. शास्त्र मतलब होता है, शास्त्र किसे कहते हैं? अगर जैसे शास्त्र, शस्त्र और शास्त्र. शास्त्र इज obviously the doctrines, okay, the books that are available. The like Vedas are also shastra, Puranas, and this Upanishads, all these are shastra, which we call in Sanatan Dharma. You can see the name of the channel is Chaitanya Foundations, because it tries to holistically link the modern education with something that is mentioned in the Puranas and the Vedas. In this channel you will find all these things. I'll be teaching science and economic science also. So you will see to it. Just keep following the channel and the updates that come time to time. So it's given here. The word economics originates from a Greek word oikonomikos. The Greek word has two parts: oikos meaning home, and nomos means management. Hence, economics means management, home management. In other words, economics comes from the ancient Greek word oikonomikos or oikonomia. Oikonomikos literally translates the task of managing a household. So, I have read the slide itself. You can read it yourself. But still, बात करते हैं इसके बारे में. देखो क्या है, फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल इट्स ऑल अबाउट मैनेजिंग अ होम. लुक, it is not that this is something new we are doing. Right from the beginning of the civilization in the Indus Valley, we kept on doing these things. But how? Look, uh, when civilization was there, what was happening? Basically, the population was less, and resources were available in a nice quantity, in a handsome quantity. But when the population went on increasing, आबादी जब बढ़ने लगी, तो क्या हुआ कि हमें स्कार्सिटी होने लगा हर चीज का, रिसोर्सेज की कमी होने लगी. तो जब रिसोर्सेज की कमी होती है, तब पता चलता है कि आप कितने अच्छे से चीज़ों को मैनेज कर पाते हैं. चीज़ों को मैनेज करना बहुत ज़्यादा ज़रूरी है. अब अगर आप मैनेज नहीं करेंगे प्रॉपरली, तो क्या होगा कि देयर विल बी केओस ऑल अराउंड. सब जगह कुछ ना कुछ कम होगा, ज़्यादा होगा, चीज़ें ठीक से नहीं चलेंगी. सीधा मतलब ये है. So home management is an art. Okay, management is itself an art. जो आपको एक स्किल है. मैनेजमेंट एक स्किल है जो कि आपको सीखना पड़ता है. कुछ होते हैं अपवाद हर जगह होते हैं. देयर आर एक्सेप्शंस दैट सम पीपल आर born as a manager. Not they're born as a manager, but they acquire the skill through experience. So what the main thing that we understand here is, like you can see the last bold points written over here is that choice making for optimization, the given resources of scarcity and surplus. Okay, that means we need to optimize things. That what is optimization, by the way? Optimization simply means that optimization means uh, keeping things as it is required. That's optimization. Not too less, not too more excess. That means no surplus, no scarcity. That's managing the scarcity is called optimization, by the way. Okay, so this is the thing. Now see, we all know that charity begins at home. Okay, so everything that has grown big, extra large, uh, began with a very small size. Okay, it it began from the zero. like the big numbers, they also once began from zero. Okay, when you keep on counting, you always you will see that it begins from zero. Okay, so right from home management, it went to city management, town management, and lastly the it came to the national level. Okay, so that's all about economics. Okay, economics, we are basically going we are talking about managing a home. Okay, so let's move to the next slide and we'll now see the definitions. So the evolution of definition of economics. Okay, now from time to time, the definition of economics kept on changing. It kept on changing, and you can see the for the first figure you are seeing here is it's the wealth definition of economics. So what is the wealth definition of economics, by the way? Look, Adam Smith, in his book The Wealth of Nations, that was published in 1776, the first time he introduced economics as a discipline, a subject. Now let's talk about some of the history. Right, Adam Smith. Adam Smith was a Scottish economist. To understand Adam Smith, okay, first let's see the sequence in which we are going to see in this topic, in this lecture. Uh, in 1776, we had Adam Smith. In 1890, we have Alfred Marshall. Then we have Lionel Robbins. Then P.A. Samuelson. And lastly, A.C. Duss. Now, you must see, wealth definition was given by Adam Smith. That means he stressed on wealth. Then welfare definition was given by Alfred Marshall, scarcity definition was given by Lionel Robbins, and then growth definition was given by P.S. Samuelson, and then modern definition of economics was given by A.C. Das in 2011. Now let's talk about it one by one. So this is Adam Smith, and he gave wealth definition in 1776. So now let's take this. So, wealth definition. Adam Smith, who is regarded as the father of economics, published a book, An Inquiry into the Nature and Causes of the Wealth of Nations, in 1776. Adam Smith was a Scottish philosopher, widely considered as the first modern economist. Smith defined economics as a science which inquires into nature and cause of wealth of nations. Nature and cause of wealth of nations. He emphasized the production and growth of wealth as the subject matter of economics. So, ऐसा क्या किया जाए कि आपके दिमाग में ये एकदम बैठ जाए, एकदम बढ़िया से समझ जाओ इसको? तो इसको करने के लिए हम थोड़ा सा पीछे समय में चलते हैं. एडम स्मिथ. एडम स्मिथ का जब हिस्ट्री आप पढ़ेंगे इन द हिस्ट्री ऑफ इकोनॉमिक थॉट, इफ यू are willing to, you can go through Google and understand these things. Okay, so Adam Smith belonged to, he had a history of physiocrats. He had a history of physiocrats. And now these physiocrats, they had a history of mercantilists. Now, what these mercantilists and physiocrats are? Look, merchants are about merchants. Now, industrialization began, like, you all know about the Renaissance period that occurred in Europe and America. Obviously, you can see the West, in the West. Now, what the mercantilists were about, they wanted to generate wealth, first and foremost. They were merchants basically. So they were stressing upon to sell their commodity they produced in their homeland to other nations. But they discouraged imports. That means they were encouraging exports, but discouraging imports. Why? Because you know what? When you import, when a country imports a commodity, जब भी एक country जो है, एक nation जो है, वो कमोडिटीज को इंपोर्ट करता है तो क्या होता है कि वेल्थ जो होता है उसके उसके स्टेट के अंदर जो वेल्थ होता है वो क्या होता है, वो बाहर चला जाता है. तो that's a decrease in wealth. Okay, that means they wanted to control their market, they wanted to close their market, so that wealth don't leak out from their territory. Okay, and there is surplus wealth in their uh, area, in their nation. So this led to a kind of instability in their region. So now this led to the fall of the mercantilists. So now they advocated about, now this when the mercantilists fell, there was a rise of physiocrats. Now these physiocrats, look, I am explaining the topic in a very short manner. It's a detailed, it's a very lengthy topic. I will be talking about it in some of the topics ahead, in some of the lectures ahead. Then came physiocrats. Now physiocrats also stressed upon generation of wealth, but they were advocating a free market, an open market. They were advocating an open market, and they named it laissez faire. Laissez faire talks about free market, open market. And the same thing this Adam Smith was also advocating. Adam Smith also advocated an open and free market. So Adam Smith has given many theories. Okay, that Adam Smith has given division of labor. Adam Smith has also has also talked about absolute advantage in trade theory. Adam Smith has also talked about the invisible hand. Okay, so all these things are given by Adam Smith. Adam Smith ने ये सारे कुछ के बारे में बात किया है. So let's see. He emphasized the production and growth of wealth as the subject matter of economics. Okay, that means Adam Smith's definition was talking about wealth generation. Yes. Now let's see the features of wealth definition. What are the features of wealth definition? So the major characteristics of wealth definition is given here. So the major characteristic of wealth definition is it takes into account only material goods. Okay, it's talking about material goods only. As I said before, that wealth definition is about the generation of wealth, material wealth. Okay, he exaggerated the emphasis of wealth, that the importance of wealth. That look, generation of wealth is very important. Okay, now when we say wealth, what do we mean? Wealth means product, commodity, commodity, riches. You may say gold, silver, all these things, kind of things. It inquires the causes it inquires the causes behind creation of wealth. What leads to creation of wealth? Obviously the resources are the causes of creation of wealth. Okay, like land, labor, capital, and all these things. So let's move to the next topic here, that criticism about Smith's definition. So what is the how do we criticize Smith's definition? Now, the wealth centric definition of economics limited its scope as a subject and was seen as narrow and inaccurate. Smith's definition forced the subject to ignore all non wealth aspects of human existence. So, you must have seen that how Adam Smith stresses, exaggerate specifically on wealth only, and nothing about non-wealth aspects of human existence. Okay, like आपके पास बस पैसा ही तो नहीं है ना, सब कुछ है ना, ऐसा कि आप बस कमोडिटी के पीछे पड़े हुए, ह्यूमन एक्सिस्टेंस का अदर एस्पेक्ट्स जो है, जैसे कि सर्विसेज को तो हम काउंट ही नहीं कर रहे इस डेफिनेशन के अंदर. सो दैट इज व्हाई दिस इज द क्रिटिसिज्म अबाउट स्मिथ्स डेफिनेशन. Now, the next comes Smithian definition overemphasized the material aspects of well-being and ignored the non-material aspects. It was assumed that human beings acted as rational economic agents who mindlessly strived to maximize their own well-being. Okay, no, this is not true, right? This is something that this definition lacks. Now, next comes the Smithian definition prevents the subject from exploring the concept of resource scarcity. The allocation and use of scarce resource are seen as central topic and analysis in the modern economies. You will later will find that scarcity definition is given by Lionel Robbins. So we'll see this in the next definitions, coming definitions. So what is next comes welfare definition, and it is given by Alfred Marshall. So what is the welfare definition? So Alfred Marshall is a British economist, and let's remember one thing that Adam Smith was Scottish. So British economist Alfred Marshall defined economics as the study of man in the ordinary business of life. Marshall argued that the subject was both the study of wealth and the study of mankind. He believed it was not a natural science such as physics or chemistry, but rather a social science. Now, see, just see the timeline, okay? Like, first, there was the Adam Smith's definition is wealth definition, okay? Adam Smith's definition is wealth definition. Now, what this welfare definition, now what Alfred Marshall does is he connects this wealth to human, or you may say man. He connects wealth to man because see, wealth is not everything, right? There is some other perspective of wealth that if unless you use the wealth, unless you utilize the wealth for your satisfaction, for your welfare, there is no question of using the wealth, right? How you are attach, how like you spend the wealth, right? So under what context, under what circumstances you are spending the wealth, how you are going to account it, right? Like suppose you take some money and go to the market. आप एक पैसा रुपया पैसा कुछ भी चीज़ आप वेल्थ जो है किसी भी फॉर्म में आप लेते हैं और आप बाजार जाते हैं. जब आप उसको लेके बाजार जाते हैं तो आप उसको खर्च कैसे करते हैं? How are you going to maximize your welfare? So that economics that was missing, that was defined by Alfred Marshall. So you can see in the definition itself that British economist Alfred Marshall, British economist Alfred Marshall defined economics as the study of man. When we are saying man, that means we are talking about the behavior of a man in the ordinary business of life. In the ordinary business of life, like under the business of life, what are we doing actually? We are producing, we are consuming, we are earning, we are spending. Okay, producing, consuming, okay, earning, spending, all these things are done in the business of life itself, right? Marshall argued that the subject was both the study of wealth and the study of mankind. As I said, wealth definition was given by Adam Smith. What Marshall did is he linked this with human beings. He linked this with human beings. So this is it. He believed that it was not a natural science. Okay, now understand this thing. What is a natural science? Natural science, that means like physics and chemistry, these are natural sciences, right? Natural sciences means even if the there is end of humanity, still this physics and chemistry will exist. They are they're matter, right? They're matter. Anything that occupies space and has mass is called a matter. You must have read this in your primary and secondary education level. So that's matter. Okay. Physics and chemistry, when we are talking about physics and chemistry, they are natural sciences, but this economics is social science, as like history, like civics, like political science, all these things, they are also social science. They are also social science. And the same way, economics is also social science because it is talking about mankind. Now remember one thing, Adam Smith called it science. Adam Smith called it science because he was talking about wealth. He wasn't talking about a human being. But Marshall proved that this is social science because we are talking about human behavior, and anything that human does is called a social act. And a science that talks about human will be called social science. So let's move to the next slide. Now here you are seeing the features of welfare definition. So what are the features of welfare definition? Let's see to it. It is primarily the study of mankind. It is on one side a study of wealth, and on the other side study of man. एक तरफ तो इसमें हम wealth के इस बारे में बात कर रहे हैं, ठीक है। दूसरी तरफ हम क्या कर रहे हैं, मैन के बारे में बात कर रहे हैं, ठीक है। दैट मीन्स वी आर गोइंग टू गो बोथ द वे. Like we will be partly agreeing with Adam Smith, and we'll be also agreeing with uh, Alfred Marshall. So we'll be going both the way, that a man and also about wealth. It takes into account ordinary business of life. It is not concerned with social, religious and political aspects of human's life. है ना, आप ऐसा नहीं बोल सकते ना कि भाई सोशल, पूरी तरह सोशल है। सोशियोलॉजी तो नहीं पढ़ रहे ना हम, कि हम कल्चर स्टडी करेंगे या फिर हम रिलीजन को स्टडी करेंगे, ऐसा कुछ नहीं करने वाले हैं, है ना। हम बस क्या कर रहे हैं, हम नॉर्मल बिजनेस ऑफ लाइफ के बारे में बात कर रहे हैं, लाइफ का बिजनेस पर्सपेक्टिव के बारे में बात कर रहे हैं। लाइफ का बिजनेस पर्सपेक्टिव क्या है, अब जैसा कि मैंने कहा था, कमाना और खर्च करना, और आपका चुनाव करना किसी चीज का, या फिर व्हाट लीड्स टू certain things. Okay, what led you to purchase something, what led you to sell something, how did you choose your profession. Okay, so all these things, what should be the wage, what should be the selling price, purchasing price, what should be the price of a commodity, all these things that are happening in the ordinary business of life is called, we'll be talking about it in economics. Next comes, it emphasizes on material welfare, that is human welfare, which is related to wealth. Okay. Now, one major distinction here is we will be talking only those aspects that can be measured with the measuring rod of money. ठीक है, आप पैसे से जिस चीज को तोल सकते हैं, जिस चीज को कंपेयर कर सकते हैं, उसके बारे में बात होगा यहाँ पे इकोनॉमिक्स के अंदर। एनीथिंग दैट इज that cannot be scaled with measuring rod of money, that doesn't come under the perspective of economics. This is according to welfare definition given by Alfred Marshall. It limits the scope of activities amenable to measurement in terms of money. As I said, मनी के टर्म्स में हम हर चीज को बात करेंगे यहाँ पे, ये मार्शल का डेफिनेशन है. So let's move to the next slide. It's about criticism of Marshall's definition. Now, the Marshallian definition, like Smithian definition, ignored the problem of scarce resources. जैसे इन्होंने scarce resources के बारे में बात ही नहीं किया. He hasn't talked about scarce resources here. Okay? Look, अभी देखो ऐसा नहीं कि मार्शल बेवकूफ थे, ठीक है? He was a great economist. But he didn't talk about scarcity. You know why? Because look, you must have seen wealth definition. Look, scarcity. Look, they're observing things, right? They're observing the society. So first, nothing was known. Then Adam Smith came with wealth definition, that yes, a person needs to generate wealth. Now, if wealth is being generated, still the problem continues. Then he found out that yes, why are these things happening? So he gave a welfare definition. Okay, like look, humans are spending money. Why are they spending money? Because they are spending money. He found a pattern. Okay, he found a pattern there, and when he found a pattern there, then he gave this welfare definition of economics. Okay, now after this, there will be a scarcity definition. Look, now when the population goes on increasing, this scarcity thing comes. Okay, you will see in the later slides by Lionel Robbins, he's talking about scarcity definition. So we'll see to it that also. So like the same like Marshall and Smith, they both don't talk about scarce resources, the problem of scarce resources. Now Marshall's definition restricted economics as a subject to only analyze material aspects of human welfare. Non-material aspects of welfare were ignored. Okay, critics of Marshallian definition asserted that it was difficult to separate material and non-material aspects of welfare. Okay, the same way, as Adam Smith also stressed upon material things, material aspect only of wealth, and the same way Marshall is also stressing upon material aspects only, not non-material aspects of welfare. So Marshallian definition does not provide a clear link between the acquisition of wealth and welfare. Marshall's critics claimed that it left the subject in state of perpetual confusion. Okay, so nothing clear was mentioned. He just told that welfare, wealth, and welfare both are important, but still he didn't clarify uh, that wealth means what and welfare means what. How are they related? He didn't clarify it in his theory. Now let's move to the scarcity definition, which you can see it was given by Lionel Robbins under the book An Essay on Nature and Significance of Economic Sciences. So let's understand. You can see in this diagram here, the picture here. Let's see what is scarcity. So you have the resources, right? Now these resources give rise to your uh, wants. So what are your wants? Wants are food, clothing, shelter, security, comfort, medicine, jewelry, affection, transportation, good health, children, variety of diet, knowledge, convenience, recognition. All these are scarcity. All these are your wants. So you can see here in the picture, it symbolizes that your wants are outweighing the resources. So if resources are less and wants are more, there will be scarcity. देयर विल बी स्कार्सिटी, कमी हो जाएगी ना। अगर आपके वांट्स बहुत ज़्यादा बढ़ रहे हैं और आपके पास तमाम रिक्वायर्ड रिसोर्सेज नहीं है, तो स्कार्सिटी तो होगा ही ना, कमी हो जाएगा। तो इस कमी को एड्रेस करना होगा ना। लाइक यू कैन सी, यू मस्ट हैव सीन wealth definition, and then we come up with welfare definition. Who is wealth definition given by Adam Smith and welfare by Alfred Marshall. Okay. Now comes Lionel Robbins in 1932 and he says that bro, there is scarcity. Scarcity is there. How to address that scarcity? So that addressing definition is given by Lionel Robbins. Okay, you will see this in the later next slide. Okay, so first you must understand what scarcity is. Like there is limited amount of land and I want a housing, I want a big house, and also I want a marketplace also, and I want food also. Now look, now if land is scarce, either you can have house, either you can have food from the fields, or you can have a marketplace. So these are three things out of this same land. The same way you have labor. If you have a labor, you want this labor working in the field, you want this labor working in your house, you want this labor working in your market. The same way, capital. Capital is also limited. Okay, like you don't have, you need to invest in capital. Suppose you want a machinery, okay, so you want the same capital to be invested in market, you want the same capital to be invested in an industry, you want the same capital to be invested at your home. So all these are your wants, and the resources are limited because the same land will be used. It's a limited resource, so there is a scarcity. Now let's see how this scarcity is being addressed. Okay, let's see. Now you can see in the definition here given by Lionel Robbins. Robbins says that Robin was another British economist. He defined economics as a subject. Economics as a subject that studies the allocation of scarce resources. Scarce resources with countless possible uses. You can see, as I explained in the previous slide, that the same resource was being used again and again, was being used for different kinds of usage. So in 1932, the text that he wrote was an essay on nature and significance of economic science. Sorry. So Robbins said that the following about the subject: economics is the science. It's a Science, same thing. Remember, we all the two before like Adam Smith also considered economics as a science, and Marshall also considered it as science. As it is studying human being, behavior of human being, then this becomes social science. Okay, because it is all about humans. Okay, like जानवरों को क्या ही पता इकोनॉमिक्स क्या है, उनको काम ही क्या है इकोनॉमिक्स का, उनको नहीं काम है, because they cannot think. They're not thinking anything. They're not creating anything. So we being a human being, we have got that intelligence, that ability. So we have started thinking. Now this science, it's science. Science means, look, if anything is very vast, जैसे साइंस को इंग्लिश में क्या कहते हैं, विज्ञान, हिंदी में क्या कहते हैं, विज्ञान कहते हैं, है ना? साइंस को हिंदी में विज्ञान कहते हैं। विज्ञान का मतलब होता है, देखो, वी का मतलब होता है वृहत। ओके, वृहत, वृहत मीन्स वास्ट। So vast knowledge is called Vigyan. Okay, something is very vast, that it has got many aspects, many dimensions are there of it. So that's called Vigyan. Okay, so economics is a science which studies. Okay, now see, you must keep this in mind and try to relate this with earlier definitions. Okay, it studies human behavior as a relationship between ends, and scarce means which have alternative uses. So what is it about? Human behavior, it studies human behavior as relationship between ends. What are ends? Ends are your wants. Okay, like I said, you want a house and a land, and I am said house and then agricultural fields. Agricultural fields. So what are these actually? Like land is there, land can be used as a house, and the alternative usage of land is agricultural field. Okay, so you can use it both the ways. So the same scarce resource, okay, the same scarce resource, this is scarce resource, okay, and the alternative usage are either agricultural field, or as a making a home, building a house. So it is talking about like the scars, it's a science that which studies human behavior as a relationship between ends and scarce resource. Scarce means which have alternative usage. That how you can use it, you should use it as a land you should use the land for making a house, or agricultural or for producing a food grains. How you are going to use it? So this study, which one would be beneficial? This study is the work of economics. We study this thing in economics. This is the definition of given by Lionel Robbins. So I hope so it is clear. Let's read the definition once again. Economics is the science which studies human behavior as a relationship between ends and scarce means which have alternative uses. So let's move to the next slide. Features of scarcity definition is economics is a positive science. Remember this. There are two things, normative and positive. Normative means what should be. पॉजिटिव मीन्स व्हाट इट इज। देखो बाबू, नॉर्मेटिव ये बताता है कि कैसा होना चाहिए, पॉजिटिव बताता है कैसा है। दोनों में अंतर है, देयर इज अ डिफरेंस बिटवीन द टू। Like you must have seen in the evenings in many temples or some places, you must have heard प्राणियों में सद्भाव ना हो, जन का सबका विश्व का कल्याण हो। ये सब चीज होता है, हम पॉजिटिव सोचते हैं, हम नॉर्मेटिव सोचते हैं हमेशा कि ऐसा होना चाहिए। आदर्श स्टूडेंट, आइडियल स्टूडेंट शुड बी लाइक दिस, everyone should respect the elders, you should throw your you should be respectful to others. All these things are there, these are normative thoughts. Okay, positive means what is happening actually. So economics is positive science. Okay, what happens, not what should happen, it is what happens, what is going on. That's economics is a positive science. Now next thing is new concepts: unlimited ends, scarce means, and alternative uses of means. Okay, unlimited ends, that means our wants are unlimited. As I said, you can either have a house, or you can use the land for agricultural purposes, you can make it for markets, you can make temple out of it, you can do anything. Okay, so these are land ends are unlimited. And then we have the means are scarce. ठीक है, आपका जो रिसोर्सेज है वो कम है, रिसोर्सेज है ही नहीं ज्यादा, नेचुरली आपको ज्यादा मिले ही नहीं है। एक्चुअली जो इकोनॉमिक्स है उसको पढ़ने का जरूरत इसलिए पड़ा बिकॉज वी हैव अनलिमिटेड वांट्स बट आवर रिसोर्सेज आर लिमिटेड, so there is a natural scarcity is there. Okay, that's the thing. Next thing you can see is it emphasis on choice, a study of human behavior. Okay, a human behavior is also studied in economics. Okay, so this is the scarcity definition. Now let's talk about the criticism of scarcity definition. Now, Robbins' definition of economics transformed the subject from normative social science into a positive science with an undue emphasis on individual choice. His definition prevented the subject from analyzing topics such as social choice and social interaction theory, which are important topics within modern microeconomic theory. Okay, so Robbins' definition talked about scarcity, but it didn't talk about some important topics like social choice and social interaction theory. Okay, like scarcity is there. Now, suppose let's take this with an example. Okay, like suppose one resource is there, like you have a plastic sheet. You have a plastic sheet, and suppose this is a resource. Okay, this is a resource. Now let's take an example of a home only, land only. Like we have a piece of land. You can either build a home, a house, or you can use it for agricultural purposes. Now a person is here, and he can, if the land is too small, he can build a house there. And if it is too big, he can use it for agricultural cultivation. But you know what, there is an alternative usage, but it is not clarifying. You can see here, if analyzing topics such as social choice, what what forces or let a person make a choice, make a particular choice. He isn't talking about this thing, that if a person is choosing one out of two, why is he choosing the one, what makes him choose the one. He's not talking about that. That is why social interaction theory, he is missing that thing. So this is the this is the how we can criticize Robbins definition. So second criticism we can have here is Robbins definition prevented it from analyzing macroeconomic concepts such as national income and aggregate supply and demand. Okay, so Robbins definition, as he's talking about scarcity, then you know what, when scarcity won't arrive, a scarcity won't appear if we consider only one person. Okay, so if he's talking about the wholesome scarcity, that means scarcity appears whenever there is, whenever we are taking things in a very large context, whenever we are talking about aggregates. जैसे कि हमारे पास इतना पेट्रोल है कि एक आदमी तो भाई जीवन भर अपना आराम से यूज कर सकता है उसको, लेकिन भैया एक आदमी तो नहीं है ना। स्कार्सिटी कब अराइज होगी, व्हेन वी हैव अ ग्रुप ऑफ पीपल, अ लार्ज नंबर ऑफ पीपल, देन एंड देन ओनली scarcity will be there. So he should also have mentioned some macroeconomic factors there, like aggregate supply and aggregate demand. Okay, like you know what, scarcity will be there whenever the aggregate demand surpasses or outnumbers aggregate supply. So then and then only scarcity will be felt in the economy. So let's, and using stylized mathematical models. Okay, so instead economics was merely used to analyze the action of individuals using stylized mathematical models. Okay, he used mathematical models to show scarcity. Now let's move to the next topic here, next definition, that is the development related definition of economics. It was given by Paul A. Samuelson, and he is a modern economist. So let's see what this definition is all about. The modern definition attributed to the 20th century economist Paul Samuelson builds upon the definition of the past and defines the subject as a social science. Okay. So the previous definition, I am just numbering them. Okay. The first we saw wealth definition, then we move towards welfare definition, then we move towards scarcity definition. Now we have development definition. Yes, according to Samuelson, economics is the study of economics is the study of how people and society choose, with or without the use of money, to employ scarce productive resources which could have alternative uses, to produce various commodities over time and distribute them for consumption now and in the future among various persons and groups of society. The definition introduced the dimension of growth under scarce situation. Okay, so now development is occurring whenever there is growth. Okay, growth is very important. Then and then only we can say that we have developed as a society. Now, development, as you can see, he is using all the terms. Firstly, he's talking about development, he's talking about growth. That means Adam Smith's factor has implemented here. He's talking about choice, he's talking about satisfaction also. Then, well, Marshall is also included here. Scarce resources are mentioned. That means he's talking about scarcity too. And he's also talking about economics is a study because how we can use a scarce resource in order to get benefit, in order to produce, in order to grow in number in our amount of riches we have. So he's talking about all these things. He's talking about distribution of resources. You know what, we have five kinds of economic activities. Okay, like we have production as an activity, economic activity. We have consumption as an economic activity. We have say distribution as an economic activity. We have investment as an economic activity. Okay, then we have four you have done. We have exchange as an economic activity. So these are the five economic activities, five kinds of economic activities that we mention, and this is how we tend to grow in economic aspect. Now, the features of development related definition is the characteristics that we are going to talk about now. It is not merely concerned with allocation of resources, but also with the expansion of resources. It analyzed how the expansion and growth of resources to be used to cope with increasing human wants. Look, if there is scarcity, then the answer to this scarcity is supply of resources. Okay, now the resources are limited, so with the help of economics we need to find out how we can this outnumber this scarcity. Okay, how we can cope up with this scarcity. So for that we need to produce, and that for producing we need to allocate the resources in such a way that this scarcity is tackled with. Now it considers the problem of resource allocation as a universal problem. As I said, it focused on both production and consumption activities. It is comprehensive in nature as it is both growth oriented as well as future oriented. It incorporated the features of all the earlier definitions. So these are the features of development related definition. So now let's this was all for this class. So now subscribe the channel for more topics, and in the comments you can mention that which topics do you want to study. आपको जो भी टॉपिक चाहिए, जिस भी लैंग्वेज में चाहिए, आप कमेंट्स में मेंशन कर सकते हैं. मैं बहुत ही आसान भाषा में आपको इस टॉपिक के बारे में सब समझा सकता हूँ. Okay, now so that was all for this class. See you in the next video.